will plans to generate revenue, develop the partnerships and various alliances necessary to continue to build the great city of Jackson. We would like to know how each plans to build the administration to protect the assets of Jackson, the wealth of businesses that exist here, arts and culture, and a plan to keep our most talented here and attract others to this city. The questions tonight will cover a broad spectrum of challenges. We believe a mayor of the city must possess the experience, the expertise, and the passion to effectively manage the city of Jackson. This collaboration with Beta Delta Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, Jackson, Mississippi alumni chapter of Delta Sigma Theta sorority, and Women for Progress was formed to inform, engage, and empower the citizens of Jackson to make good decisions when they go to the polls on May 7th. That's the purpose of tonight. Now, you, us, the citizens of Jackson, you have come with your concerns, your questions, seeking answers. But as you leave here tonight, we, this collaboration, ask that we leave here tonight with a new mindset. We begin to focus on the strengths of Jackson, its great history, its arts and culture, great industry, our colleges and our universities, diverse small businesses. And for those of you who have been here for some time, begin to remember the wonderful memories of raising your families here. And then let's think about how each of us can contribute to the building of this great city, to the heights that we know that it can be. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening.
I am Maggie Terry Hopper. I am the chairperson of the Connection Committee for the Beta Delta Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. On behalf of the president, Dr. Amarita Tell, who will join us later as many of AKs will do, we have a board meeting tonight. I welcome you, the audience, and the mayor candidates to what is expected to be an electrifying and controlled political forum. We are also elated to partner for the first time with the Sisters of Delta Sigma Theta Jackson Alumni Chapter and the Women for Progress. We appreciate Women for Progress for providing us the opportunity to partner with this forum. We are proof that powerful women can work together. Thank you for coming out, showing an interest as we go through the process of electing a mayor for our capital city. I will not address the issues that concern you as we have moderators who will bring some of the issues in their questions addressed to the candidates. I think it would be safe to say that we can agree that it takes all of us to make every effort to assist in improving Jackson, whether we reside in Jackson or not. That concern is one of the reasons we are here this evening. We can also safely say if Jackson fails, the metro area will fail. I invite you to swing by the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority table to secure a voter registration form. If you're not registered, or perhaps you know someone who's not registered, the table is over to my left in the back. And also, I Our chapter would also like to invite you on Thursday, please mark your calendar, on Thursday this week, April 4th, from 5:30 to 7:30, to our second annual Business Networking Opportunity Reception. This would take place at the Beta Delta Omega Community Center, located at 5330 Executive Place. And please bring your business card as we will exchange our raffle our door prizes as well as gas cards. I would like to recognize the member of this wonderful sorority of the Beta Delta Omega chapter, for the ladies of the Beta Delta Omega chapter. Just raise your hand. Thank you. In closing, I thank you again for coming out, and I extend my best wishes to the candidates. Good evening.
To God be the glory for all He's done.
Amen.
A famous author once said, even when there's no choice, we choose, lest we lose the habit of our duty. Ever tempted to the right refuse, come the day we recognize the beauty. There is no greater dignity than this, in each and equal sense of sovereignty. Ownership not easy to dismiss, nothing less than what makes people free. Do then exercise this sovereign right, as though it could be lost, as well it might. Yielding in small steps that few can see. Good evening. My name is Julia Crockett, and on behalf of the 345 dynamic women of the Jackson, Mississippi Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, I greet you. We are indeed delighted to see so many of you here tonight, and to hear from our candidates for the office of mayor of the city. I encourage each of you to listen to what is said and ask questions if you don't understand. We are here this evening standing on the shoulders of great giants. Many have suffered, died, and yet even today continue to fight for our right to vote. It is our responsibility, our duty, not to let their efforts be in vain. We should make it a priority to understand the issues facing our communities, know the candidates running for office, and encourage others to get out and vote. In the words of the famous author, he who can protest and does not is an accomplice in the act. Your vote, your neighbor's vote, your friend's vote matters. It is my prayer that you will leave here tonight a more informed citizen, ready to vote, and to encourage others to vote, to improve our city's economic development by bringing in new businesses and keeping the ones we currently have, by improving education, because the human mind is our fundamental resource, and by curtailing the crime rate in our great city. Few will have an opportunity of greatness, but each of us can work to change a small portion of events, and in the total of all of those acts will be written the history of this generation. Make your vote count. It is our responsibility, our duty. If not us, then who? If not now, then when? Vote and encourage others. I thank you, and may God continue to bless you.
we have assembled for you a wonderful group of moderators. Our first moderator is Mrs. W. Ann Bridges Payton. W. Ann Bridges Payton is a retired employee of the state of Mississippi Department of Education. While there, she served as Bureau Director of Vocational Community Development and later Bureau Director of Research and Grants. She is a member of the Hinds County Democratic Executive Committee, City of Jackson Democratic Executive Committee, Jackson 2000, and she is a life member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority, Jackson, Mississippi Alumni Chapter, serving as a chair of the Political Awareness Committee. And we have Ms. Jacqueline German, currently serves as an emergency department technician at Central Mississippi Medical Center. Previous experience includes organizing community programs with a focus on patient advocacy, public health prevention, and education with the Association of Black Cardiologists, the Mississippi State Department of Health, and the American Heart Association. Graduate of Georgetown University in Washington, D.C., and received her Master's of Public Health from Emory University, Rollins School of Public Health in Atlanta, Georgia. And we have Mr. Peter A. Stewart III, graduate of the University of the Mississippi School of Law, private practice of law, consulting and insurance, working in the areas of criminal defense, medical malpractice, real estate, wills and estates, family law and father's rights, fully licensed insurance agent in life, health, accident, and property and casualty. Let's give them a round of applause. Just a little administration. We have given out small ballots for you tonight with a list of all the candidates. We would like each of you to complete those tonight in your selection after the forum tonight, to mark that ballot, and there will be individuals coming around to pick those up. There's also a basket on the registration table with Ms. Russell in the back. So please make sure that you take the time to do that at the end of the forum tonight. We would like to assess the information that you received here tonight, and that will help us do that. Also, there will be index cards distributed will give you an opportunity to write your questions. Your questions will be picked up and also passed along to the moderator, which will ask those questions, and the candidates will be able to respond to them. And finally, Women for Progress has some wonderful cookbooks, which is a historical memoir of Jackson and the history of our organization. And Ms. Dorothy Stewart, founder, has them available back on the table at the Women for Progress table in the back. So please take the time tonight to go back and pick up an edition of those. Thank you, and I turn it over to the moderators.
Good evening, candidates and audience. Again, we are indeed excited and thankful for your participation. I'm going to reiterate what tonight's purpose and focus of this debate will be. Described as recognizing the urgency of now. Can everyone hear me? This forum is organized to provide a means of gaining and evaluation of the individual seeking the office of mayor of the city of Jackson. The questions cover a broad spectrum of challenges, and a mayor of the city must possess the experience, expertise, vision, and the passion to effectively manage. We work collectively and collaboratively call for candidates and citizens to respond to the urgency of now. The urgency of now calls for a mayor that has what we believe these characteristics: an innovator with visionary leadership, an implementer of policies and practices that improve quality of life and economic opportunity in Jackson, a planner to to turn Jackson into the healthiest, greenest, and most livable city in Mississippi. An effective and skilled manager to reduce disparities among residents and to sustain an educated, equitable, and prosperous society. A developer, finally, of Jackson, Mississippi's capital city, and to make that a priority. Now the format. The format for tonight's forum is as follows. First, there will be an introduction of the candidates, followed by an introductory statement from each candidate. Then there will be 3 priority questions that have been developed by the forum committee. Then we'll have questions from the audience, the debate section is what we call that, and finally closing statements by each candidate. Now Mr. Peter Stewart will go over the rules for both the candidates and the audience.
Thank you, Jack. And candidates, these are the rules, and we will definitely be holding to these rules. Number 1, each candidate will be allowed 3 minutes for an introduction. Your introduction should include your leadership training, your membership in organizations, education, career, and volunteer experience and events that you believe best prepared you to serve as leader of the city of Jackson. Each candidate will then be allowed 2 minutes to answer 3 priority questions developed by the moderators. Candidates will be allowed 1 minute to respond to questions submitted by the audience. Candidates will be allowed 1 minute for rebuttals. Candidates will be allowed 2 minutes for a closing statement. Please be mindful of the warnings near the end of your time when the timekeeper signals you. And once your time is called, you must stop. And at this time, I'd like to ask for our timekeepers, Ms. Nettie Stout and Mr. Jesse Moore, would you please stand? Let yourself be recognized. All right. And out of respect for the office of mayor, we will be allowing Mayor Harvey Johnson to give his closing statement last.
I'm going to have Ms. Nettie Stowers at this time explain the warning signals when you all are responding to the questions.
Simple warning systems. 1 minute left, half minute, wrap it up, enough.
Thank you, Ms. Stowers. We're also going to ask that the audience please refrain from all distracting noise, outbursts, or any inappropriate behavior while the candidates are speaking. Please hold all applause, I know it'll be hard, until after the closing statements given by the candidates. Now, for introduction of the candidates, and if you all would you can either stand or raise your hand or however you feel led to. From my left to right, Mr. Robert Amos, Mr. Frank Blunson, Mr. William E. Bright, Ms. Gwendolyn Ward Osborne Chapman, Cornelius Briggs is not with us tonight, the Honorable Mayor Harvey Johnson, Mr. John H. Jones Jr., Mr. Jonathan Lee, Mr. Chokwe Lubamba, Ms. Regina Quinn, Charlotte Reeves is not with us tonight, Mr. Francis P. Smith Jr., Charles Taylor Sr. is not here with us, nor is Mr. William C. Williams Jr. Right. Without any further ado, the Forum Committee identified 3 areas as hot-button issues or priorities for this discussion. Questions will basically fall under these categories or these priorities: infrastructure, community and economic development, employment, arts and culture, education, and civility, law, and order. Now, the candidates will now be given 3 minutes to make introductory statements. And I'll just reiterate what we are looking for in those introductory statements. They should include your leadership training, membership in organizations, education, career, and volunteer experience, just the ones that you believe have best prepared you to serve as leader of the city of Jackson. The mics are at your table. We can start with Mr. Robert Amos and we'll go down. And again, watch your time from the timekeepers. Is it on?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Robert Amos, candidate for mayor. I'm a product of Jackson Public Schools. I have a bachelor's degree from Alcorn State University. I have a master's degree from Jackson State University. I sponsored a nonprofit organization called Metro Jackson Track and Field All-Stars for about 7 years. I worked in education. Jackson Public School teacher, adjunct professor at Virginia College and also Jackson State. I worked in finance. I was a finance officer. I had a responsibility of monitoring millions of dollars of student aid in students' accounts. Currently, I work as a small business owner with 2 locations in the state of Mississippi, one in Jackson and another one in another location. I'm responsible for a medical assistant program in the state of Mississippi, accredited by the Accredited Bureau of Health Education Schools. It's the only school in the state of Mississippi who has an accreditation, and I'm instrumentally responsible for that. I'm a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. I volunteered in the city for years, I'm a lifelong resident, and I want everybody to know that our campaign is about generating revenue, providing jobs, and providing scholarships and job training programs. Thank you.
Just look tight, someone said, okay. Good evening. First of all, I want to thank the organization for putting on this forum tonight. And it's something that can be very educational for our voters on May 7th. I am Frank Bluntson. I've been a member of the City Council for 8 years, going on 8 years, 8 years at the end of this term. I was a school teacher. I was the director of the Hines County Youth Detention Center, Youth Court. I was the adjunct professor at Jackson State in the Criminal Justice Department. I officiated football, basketball, baseball for 42 years. 29 of those years in sweat. I love Jackson. And I want to be the person to lead Jackson to a different height than it is at this time. And what I mean by that, I don't want people to constantly have to call 3 on your side to get things done. I want to be there and have things done before you can do that. That's why I want to be a proactive candidate. I mean mayor, not candidate. When I say proactive, and you don't want people reacting to every adverse situation that we have in the city of Jackson. When the sun is shining, that's the time to clean out the drainage. That's the time to do all these things. You don't wait until we have these torrential rainfall to then try to do things. That's what I mean by being proactive. You have to have passion for people. You have to let people know it's not about Frank Bluntson, it's about you. I'm working for you. You're not working for me. I'm your public servant. And that's what I want to do. I want to be the kind of mayor that when it's in the 4 years, I want to say and done that Frank Bluntson did a tremendous job for the city of Jackson. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is William Bright. I graduated high school in Johnstown, Maryland. Unfortunately, I didn't grow up in Jackson, but I went straight into the United States Marine Corps. I served honorably for 7 years, got out a non-commissioned officer, had a top secret clearance, was well over a lot of people in my position, so I do have some ability there. When I got out of the Marine Corps, I went straight into law enforcement. I had a total of probably 26 and a half years in law enforcement background. In 1998, I left Pike County, Mississippi, and came to Jackson and joined the Jackson Police Department. I enjoyed my tenure there. I left as a sergeant after being promoted on August of 2011, and I did 13 months as a sergeant. The reason I'm running for mayor is because I know that I have exactly what it's going to take to make the changes necessary, because after being a part of all of the Neighborhood Watch Association meetings and all the meetings and everything, and all the people that I know, I was actually asked to run for mayor. Talking to everybody and learning all the difficulties and seeing so many things that are wrong in this city, I want to be a part of making that right. My actual campaign is not what I can do, it's what we can do together. I'm not running this for me, I'm running this for y'all. Thank you very much.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Wendy Boyle Osborne Chapman. My platform is let's move the change to a one love. The vision is to build and maintain a strong economic foundation for the purpose of love and for unity. Also to develop creative, collective working responsibility through faith and self-determination. My experience, God has blessed me with the gift of love, other than being a professional counselor in the community for years, being part of the National Women of Profession. At the present moment, trying to open up a place for veterans, dealing and counseling with youth in the community as we speak. I've been an active member in the community even before I was born. I really would like to be Jackson's next mayor, and the reason for that is because it's time for Jackson to shine. It hurts my heart deeply to see and hear people, it doesn't matter the color, a nationality, suffer. And my vision in terms of bringing a strong economic, cooperative economic foundation is to legalize hemp. And the purpose of that, after doing research, which I also was a member of research for ERIC with the University of Mississippi, where we investigated together in the community, I realized that to research that the hemp plant has such a medicine for it. There's a medicine that comes out of the hemp plant.
Can we keep it on the subject of your experiences?
Okay, my experience is so long. First of all, I would like to go to the experience in terms of veterans, in terms of camp dining for youth who have problems with discipline. Also, for YouShine, Universal Culture Expression and Network, where it goes to help one to express their true self through yoga and through meditation, and also through prayers. My experience also with the elders in the community, which daily I check upon them. My experience is so long that also I help implement training for foster parents to be trained on how to handle emotional individual before bringing them into the home. So the experience is so great. So basically, from this experience, I would like to...
Thank you, Ms. Chapman.
You're welcome.
Good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here. Let me start off by thanking all the organizers of this event for having it. Let me also thank all of you for being here, because that means that you're interested in government. You know, I've gone on record as saying that the position of mayor of the capital city is not a position you should put a person in who needs on-the-job training. Apparently, some of my opponents have taken exception to that, to the extent that they said, well, you needed on-the-job training in 1997 when you came into office. That's absolutely not true. For 25 years prior to 1997, I worked in resource-poor towns in the Mississippi Delta, helping them to get water systems, helping them to get sewer systems, housing, streets, drainage. I worked to develop entire communities, resource-poor communities, in the field of planning and community development. I helped to manage projects. I was ready in 1997 to lead the city. My training, my education also made me ready. I have 2 degrees in political science, an undergraduate and a graduate degree. I'm a student of government. I understand government. I've worked on a doctorate in public administration. I've taught graduate level courses in public administration and planning and community development and economic development. I served my country as an Air Force officer in command of 60 to 90 individuals. I was president of my fraternity, graduate level fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity, for 5 years. I also served on the numerous civic organizations. I was president of the Jackson Arts Alliance. I was in the second class of Leadership Jackson. I served on the State Tax Commission, on the first gaming commission here in Mississippi. So in 1997, I was ready. In 2009, I was ready to lead. I took off trying to get Jackson back on track. We're back on track. Since 2009, we've paved some 86 miles of streets. Since 2009, we put 150 new police officers on the streets. Since 2009, we've decentralized police operations to have greater police visibility. Since 2009, we created, as I promised I would do in 2009, the Jobs for Jackson Initiative. That's resulted in the creation of resulted in the hiring of some 600 people through job fairs. It's also resulted in over 1,000 young people getting work during the summer. So I was ready in 1997. I was ready in 2009. I'm ready in 2013 to lead this city for the next 4 years. Hope you go to the polls and vote for Harvey Johnson in the Democratic primary on May 7th.
Good evening, everyone. I'm John H. Jones, Jr., and I'm a candidate for mayor of the city of Jackson. I am a professional administrator. I am an educator. And I am a technologist. One of the things that sets me heads above a lot of the candidates that are on the stage this very evening is my awareness and my ability to use technology. Over the last 20 years, I've served as a professional administrator. I've led large budgets. I've led teams. I've developed technology on 3 different campuses of a community college in West Virginia. I've worked at Jackson State University. I'm a graduate of Jackson State University with a doctorate in administration of higher education, a master's in educational technology, and a BS degree in industrial management. So I'm well prepared to lead the city the size of Jackson. I've served on numerous committees in the community here in Jackson. I've worked out of state for the past 10, 15 years while maintaining my residency here in the city of Jackson simply because I love the city of Jackson. And I think that there are some things that we can do to make this city the great city that it should be. We need to use technology more advantageously in the city of Jackson. Right now we're doing lots of things the same way we did 30 years ago. As far as policing, there could be things that we can do with technology that could save the city money. One thing in particular, if we had a GPS tracking system that were monitoring the fleet of vehicles that's owned by the city of Jackson and operated by the city of Jackson, we could save enough money to get some of the things done that we always find about we never have enough money to get done. Well, I know I don't have a lot of time, so 3 minutes is very short. Let me tell you what my vision is. My vision for the city of Jackson is to make Jackson the best city in the state of Mississippi.
Mr. Jones, you'll have an opportunity to talk about vision. If you're done with your experiences, we can move on to the next candidate.
No, I'm not done with my experience.
Okay.
I worked in West Virginia. I worked at West Virginia Northern Community College. I managed technology on 3 different campuses, and I made that campus the technology leader in the state of West Virginia. I did the same thing at Jackson State. I managed the telecommunications department at Jackson State, working with Mrs. Jenny Ulysses. And we managed the telephone services on the campus for 5,000 students and over 250 faculty. Of course, this was 20 years ago. Okay? What I'm telling you is I have the experience to lead and the experience of creating and developing widgets and managing widgets for large amounts of money. I thank you for your time.
Good evening. I'd like to take this opportunity to also thank the Women for Progress, Delta Sigma Theta, and Alpha Kappa Alpha for this opportunity for the candidates to come and share with you a little bit about our vision, our thoughts, and our ideas. I also want to thank each of you because, as indicated earlier, lots of our ancestors, lots of our even family members have lived and died fighting for the right to be able to show up at the polls and cast your vote. This is important business, and I consider it an honor and a pleasure to be here with you tonight. My name is Jonathan Lee, and I'm running for mayor of the city of Jackson. I am a product of Jackson, Mississippi. My parents have been in business here for themselves for many years, grew up in the community surrounding this very mall, grew up attending Fair Street Baptist Church. Glad to see many church members in the audience. And I went off to college at Mississippi State, where I got an undergraduate degree in marketing and an MBA. After I left Mississippi State, I sought a PhD at the University of Alabama. But I got one of those weird, once-in-a-lifetime feelings, like something I've never felt before, and it compelled me to come home. And after I got here in Jackson, I started working on a little project for my dad, and we discovered that he had terminal cancer. He died 8 months later. At 24 years old, I was responsible for our family business. 2 locations, one here in Jackson, one on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, 2 warehouses here in Jackson, and 2 in South Mississippi. It was a big job, and I was blessed because, my father left me many, many things. One of the things he left me that I want to mention tonight in terms of my experience is the understanding that paychecks just don't fall from the moon. You've got to go out there and you've got to make it happen on the 1st and the 15th. It requires planning. It requires fortitude. I also learned that when you hit that brick wall, sometimes you got to learn to make a right turn. And it was important to me to continue to provide in the lifestyle of my family that my father had begun to provide for us. I have to tell you that I have been very involved in this community. I started out working at the YWCA, going to the YWCA as a child. So when I got back here, I made sure I signed up to go and help at IS Sandwich Y. I've served at Operation Shoestring. I've served at Boys and Girls Club, but I've also got some experiences with businesses. I'm a former chairman of the Chamber of Commerce here in Jackson. I'm on the board of Baptist Hospital, where we oversee a $400 million budget and 3,000 employees. What's more than experience is I have the skill of being able to implement. A plan is a plan, but a plan is no good if you can't pull the trigger. I look forward to sharing with you more of my vision and ideas tonight. Thank you so much.
My name is Shokway Lamone. I rise at this time briefly to ask you to vote for me mayor of the city of Jackson on May the 7th. I want to applaud the Women for Progress, the Deltas, and the AKAs for their initiative in sponsoring this assembly tonight. I am a proud recipient of awards and appreciation from the Women for Progress, the AKAs, and the Deltas for dedicated work and service in Jackson, Mississippi. I am also 45 years a human rights activist. I have worked and struggled for human rights in over 16 different states as a lawyer and in many different areas as a human activist. I have led 6,000, 7,000 people in a march in the United Nations in 1979. I have participated in the relief efforts in Katrina. When Katrina hit, we organized tons of food and other material resources that went to the Gulf Coast. For 37 years, I have practiced law and I have represented the rights of women, men, workers, other professionals, blacks, Hispanics, whites, and others. Amongst my clients are Tupac Shakur and the Scott sisters. For the last 4 years, I've sat on the city council, and so I fought for pay raises successfully for city workers, summer jobs for the youth, jobs and contracts for residents of the city of Jackson. It is time, I think, for a new direction in Jackson. We must leave the path of stagnation and excuses and being just okay. We must move on. This will require proven leadership. It will require leadership which loves the people, leadership which serves the people, and leadership which listens to the people. You should vote for Chokwe Lumumba on May the 7th of 2013.
Good evening. I too would like to thank the organizers of this forum, the Alpha Kappa Alpha Incorporated Baker Delta chapter, as well as the Women for Progress, which I'm a proud member, along with the alumni chapter of Delta Sigma Theta. I am Regina Quinn, and I want to be your next mayor. I feel at home, Jackson. This is home for me. I grew up not far from here on Bridgeway Street. I tread the grounds of an area where trailblazers made a significant impact on this city and on my life. I grew up a stone's throw from Gines Avenue. That's where I played as a child. That's the street where Mayor and Merle Evers lived, and where Dr. Margaret Walker Alexander lived as well. I am a product of the Jackson Public Schools. I attended the University of Southern Mississippi. I attended Loyola University School of Law in New Orleans. I've been a practicing attorney here for over 25 years. I've worked as a special assistant attorney general where I represented the Department of Finance and Administration. My job was to draft attorney general's opinions on procurement and making sure state officials stay within the guidelines of the bid laws of the state. In addition to that, I worked there for a while, and then I went on and co-founded my own law firm, that's Urban & Queen. And I built that firm from scratch along with my partner, Herb Durden. We represented a number of small businesses throughout the city. And it warms my heart to travel throughout the city of Jackson to see the businesses that we represented. In addition to that, we represented a number of nonprofit organizations too. The West Jackson Community Development Corporation, the Ferris Street Foundation, the Magnolia Bar Foundation. I worked there for about 10 years, and then I went on to become the first general counsel of Jackson State University. And at Jackson State, I did what general counsel do, and I had to take a title and build an office, and that's what I did. There was no office of general counsel before I got there, and I'm very pleased with the work that we were able to do. I was the key negotiator for the acquisition of the Mississippi Veterans Memorial Stadium on behalf of JSU. JSU now receives $563,000 a year from the University Medical Center. The paving and the lighting is done by the Medical Center. I want you to know that in addition to the work that I've done, I've also developed a subdivision. And that subdivision started out with the parks with trees, and beautiful trees and hanging moss. And I developed a subdivision there, 7 acres and 14 home sites, 13 homes are there now. And I will tell you, there's no water and sewer drainage problems in Lakewood Cove. I ask you to vote for me on May 7th to be your next mayor. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Francis Smith, and I am a man of God, an ordained pastor and bishop, pastor of the Church of Total Praise and Worship. I am an independent mayoral candidate. I'm a former city employee. I work with telecommunications, information systems, planning and development, housing and community development, housing rehabilitation. First and foremost, regardless of our education, I went to a preparatory college in Eastville College out of Texas. In spite of our experiences, I was an officer in the United States Navy. I'm a retired veteran. Now I'm here in the city of Jackson, Mississippi, as a pastor, as a leader, and I've touched many lives in the city. Regardless of what's going on, this is what I bring to the table as an independent. My platform is after May 7th. I will be more than glad to explain a whole lot of things that are going on within the city. But after May 7th, you'll see a lot of me. Regardless of your education, regardless of what's been implemented, this is where we are now. And first and foremost, if you don't put God in it, this city will never win. Period. The opening of this forum should have been with prayer. The closing of this forum should have been with prayer. Our last forum should have opened up. We were in a church. Should have been with prayer. That's my experience. Prayer, putting God first. If we don't put God first, we won't win. I need you to vote for the person and not the party.
Mr. Francis Smith, I totally agree with you, and I'm very pleased that you made that comment, and we apologize for not putting God first. It's exactly right. So at this time, would you close your eyes for a word of prayer? Father God, in the name of Jesus, we are weak and we are human and we are frail. And not putting you first is a prime example of that. So we first ask for your forgiveness and we repent. We ask you to come into this place and do what only you can do. Speak to the candidates, speak through them. Let their vision be what you would have done in this city. I thank you that you will bless the homes and the lives of all of those who are here in attendance. We thank you for their time taken to come out to hear what the candidates have to say. And as they leave this place, we thank you for traveling mercies. We thank you that you've already blessed the food, that it will add only nourishment to our bodies. And as we go forth, we thank you, Father, that you're forever forgiving and merciful. And you're merciful to us. And we just receive that mercy right now as we go forward. And it's in Jesus' name that we pray. Amen. We now have priority questions that have been developed by the moderators in the forum committee. At this time, the questions will be answered in 2 minutes. As many of you have already started jumping at the bit in terms of what your plans and visions are. Well, here's an opportunity to begin to explain those things in more detail and specifics. Priority question number 1. The city is facing hundreds of millions of dollars worth of water, sewer, and street repairs. If you're elected, identify what will be your top infrastructure, meaning water, sewer, street, abandoned properties, etc. priority. What will be your top infrastructure priority? And how will you look to fund it? You will each be given 2 minutes. Wherever the microphone is, that person can begin.
Good evening again. One of the first things that we have to do in the city of Jackson, and you will hear me say it throughout this canvassing, is we must clean up Jackson. We must clean Jackson up. We have an infrastructure issue that we have to deal with. There's a plan, there's a 10-year plan, 5 to 10-year plan that we have partnership. And it's something that we do every day. It's something that we've done. And it's very simple. One of the first things we have to do is cut costs. Put money where money belongs. Put money where money will grow money. Every seed begets another seed. There are offices in our administration that are budgeted for each year. All of those positions are not occupied. There's money left over. We have the city, which is in the county, and the county is in the state. In a nutshell, let's use what we already have to fix some of these problems. And that's the city, the county, and the state.
Three priorities for a clean administration for dealing with the infrastructure problem that we have. Once again, it's a huge challenge for the city of Jackson. We have a $1 billion problem in terms of the infrastructure of the city of Jackson. first thing is to go ahead and take to referendum the low volume sales tax that's on the books right now. And I think that the citizens of Jackson just deserve an opportunity to say yea or nay, vote it up or down. By doing that, we can generate about $15 million annually based on the sales that we have currently within the state of Mississippi. We've lost the opportunity to have done that a couple of years ago, and that lost opportunity that means that we don't have the $30 million that we could have used for infrastructure. And that's a lot more than the current bond deal that's been implemented by the current administration. That's a must for us. We need a vote on that, and I suggest that we go ahead and present that to the people of Jackson. The second thing is to have pursue an appropriation by the city of Jackson to our state legislature. About half of the cities in this country, maybe a little less, have what's called an annual appropriation. There are about 30% of our buildings are tax exempt due to the fact that they are government buildings and religious institutions. So we need to get that annual appropriation. I have a relationship in order to help, of course, make that happen. It's imperative that we do that. And the third thing, of course, would be is to equalize our water rate system. And that is, we have citizens that are outside a mile of the city of Jackson paying half of the rate that we're currently paying for water. We need to equalize that, as well as have that maintenance fund for road repair. We don't have that currently. It's just imperative that we have a maintenance fund. So those would be my three things moving forward in terms of implementing something that's sustainable for the citizens of Jackson.
Infrastructure is the new economic frontier. As God has left us and most other cities with declining infrastructure, He's given us the opportunity to make a new economic frontier by putting our people who live in Jackson and who are contractors in Jackson to work repairing that infrastructure. It is very important that we do not outsource these things, but that we do them ourselves with our own labor. Because by doing that, we are building a bigger tax base, people with money who will help support our infrastructure in the future. We do need to search for new revenue streams. One of those revenue streams might very well be a lease-to-own situation, where we get millions of dollars put into the system for water, for instance, or for the roads, in order to repair them. And we begin to repay people over a period of time for those infrastructure developments. The situation, we have to be careful of political gimmicks. A bond is not a sound way to deal with roads. A bond, as Mr. Harvey Johnson has said on many occasions, puts us in a situation of paying millions of dollars for a bond. And then by the time that we get a chance to get the streets repaired and they begin to decay again, the bond is still holding. So that's why the bond is not the best option for us to go to. We have to look for new revenue streams. We also have to look for revenue streams which cannot be taken away from us. The commission that is not controlled by the citizens of Jackson is disrespectful to Jackson, because it dishonors our own resources and our own leadership, but it also is a commission which in many instances can be used to rewrite money which we raise in our sales tax dollars for other purposes other than for the city of Jackson. So we got to be careful about that.
The infrastructure question is always very complicated. The solution is very complicated. But real quick, I want to run through two areas that I want to touch on. Of course, the first being the streets. There's something about bad streets that just gets into our psyche. It really, really affects the way we feel about the city we live in. And there is a simple solution. In my opinion, we have not been a good enough steward with the money we have. From pavement to paperclips, right now we're spending $4.9 million. We've got $4.9 million in our budget, but we're only spending about $1.1 million of those dollars. The reason why is because we don't have the discipline to keep our hands off the money off the budget year starts. One of the things the county does and other communities do is they take those funds and they move them out of the general fund and put them in a specialized fund. That gives us the discipline to keep our hands off the money. It's like tithing. If you pay that 10% at the beginning of the month, chances are it's going to be there, it's fine. But if you wait till the end of the month, it disappears. We've got to have the same kind of discipline in fixing our streets. Second thing I want to touch on is this very complicated water sewer issue. Right now, surrounding communities are customers on the system. They're customers in our water treatment facility. What we need to do is bring those folks to the table, because right now we're on the hook for all the problems that we have. We want to create a regional wastewater supply district whereby they bring money to the table to help us fix those issues. Imagine if we had that system was worth, say, $50 million, and we were able to generate $25 million out of the purchase from outside communities. And then we're able to leverage the bond capacity of the regional district, not on our credit, but on the credit of the group, to get those items fixed. Those are the kinds of things we have to do. We've got limited resources and limited personnel. We've got to look outside ourselves to come up with creative strategies, because right now, the citizens of Jackson are left holding the bag on a problem that has gone on much too long. Thank you.
Good evening. Again, I'm John H. Jones, Jr. And one of my top priorities is going to the infrastructure. What you have to understand is that we did not get into this infrastructure problem that we have overnight. We had years of deferred maintenance. It didn't start with the Hopper Johnson administration. It did not start with the administration prior to Mayor Johnson. I go back all the way to the time when Kenny Dillon was the mayor of the city of Jackson, and I served on the cable TV advisory board. Well, it's the same thing that we got to do here. We've got to prioritize what we want to do, and we've got to stick to those priorities that we make. We have a finite budget. We need to live within our budget, but we need to reallocate some of those funds, and we need to address our maintenance issues in the city of Jackson. Again, they weren't created overnight. They're not going to be solved overnight. It's going to take us a good 10 or 15 years to get out of this hole that we've dug ourselves in over the last 25 or 30 years. Now, again, we need to reallocate our resources and make sure that there is money for the streets. But the streets are not the worst infrastructure problem we have in the city of Jackson. I think part of our problem is the neighborhoods. We need to develop the neighborhoods. We need to develop shopping centers. We need to spend our money in the city of Jackson. We don't need to run out behind Sam to go to Madison to spend our money. We need to make Jackson first. We need to expand our tax base. And the way we're going to expand our tax base is by giving people incentives to move back into the city of Jackson. Right now, I pay more taxes than anybody else in the surrounding counties. Right now, those of us who choose to live in the city of Jackson pay that additional tax every day, whereas the people that live in these dead-end communities only pay it when they visit the city of Jackson. We got to start being selfish and spend our money in Jackson.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes, sir. The question is, the city is facing hundreds of millions of dollars worth of water, sewer, and street repairs. If you're elected, identify what will be your top infrastructure priority. And how do you look to fund it?
That's what I thought you said. The top infrastructure priority. And I think that's clearly going to be our sewer system, fixing the sewer system, because we are under federal mandate to do that. But some of the candidates talk about streets, and they also talk about $4 million for streets. I don't know. It's very interesting. You have to be able to look at a budget and understand the budget. And apparently there's some misunderstanding. We actually have about $25 million set aside for streets. If you don't believe me, go down Fortification Street. That's $10 million right there. Capitol Street's another $6 million right there. We also are paving the intersections throughout the city, some 25 intersections. We're paving some 28 streets. We're fixing some 507 utility cuts. So we're working on the street problem. We couldn't do it in December because it was cold and the plant was shut down. So when people throw numbers out at you and figures out at you, look behind those numbers. Look behind the people who say, well, let's just go on and tax the citizens of Jackson. And I agree with Councilman Lumumba that we can't have a board overseeing us, the expenditures here that we collect, the taxes we collect here in the city of Jackson. The number one priority is the sewer system. And we've taken steps. We have to be innovative. That's why we entered into the performance contract. We're going to get about $17 million out of that contract to replace sewer lines that need to be replaced because we're under a federal mandate to replace those sewer lines. So we are going to have to deal with that problem. We're going to have to deal with that problem in a very innovative way, as we're doing right now. And we're going to make sure that we keep our hands out of the pockets of the ratepayers. Rates have gone up, sewer rates have gone up some 50% since 1997. Water rates have gone up some 100% since 1997. We need to make sure that we're innovative and do things like performance contracting, like we're doing now, $90 million in order to move the city forward in terms of infrastructure.
Before you begin, Ms. Chapman, there are seats over to my right. I've been told if there are those in the back who would like to have a chair, there are extra seats over to my right. Thank you, Ms. Chapman. Go ahead.
Infrastructure. The top priority, first of all, to identify what is the problem, and once the problem is identified, come up with a solution. The streets, dilapidated houses, sewage, they all are important because they affect the people in the community. Special interest group, public interest group that comes together in the community, talk about how themselves can repair that without depending on the government. That's how serious it is in terms of infrastructure. Now, if it were left up to me, solar energy, wind energy, but it's not left up to me. It's left up to the interests of the people. So what would be the top priority? The top priority will first of all gather to see what the problem is, develop a solution to the problem, and from there move forward.
Well, I feel the same as pretty much the rest of the candidates do. The only difference is I believe the sewage problem is over the streets. That's the biggest problem that we face. And one of the things we need to do, and one of my staff right now is coming up with a plan I think we need to go to the other cities and find out exactly what they've done and put a plan together, because you can't do anything at all without a plan. The plan is where you get an assessment of your problem. You work it from the worst to the least. That's exactly what you have to do. You collect all the data that you need, then you implement your solutions. Like the bond issue was something that was brought up, and actually I really didn't know a lot about that bond issue, and now I kind of think that I'm agreeing with the other candidates that talk about that bond. But there are other solutions. The deal with the roads that I believe is you cannot fix something with a Band-Aid. The road has to be fixed underneath. You can't just throw a Band-Aid on top of a cut and expect it to heal. Things have to be done. You have to take care of it from the bottom up. Putting stuff on top of something to fix it, that's never going to work. It doesn't work that way. And the money to bring in for these things, I'll just tell you, my staff has come up with some of the same solutions as the other candidates have. So that's just to let you know that, all of us are actually hard working on the problems. I can sit here and tell you the same thing that our mayor has said, or Jonathan Lee, and a few others, and that's pretty much what my staff has come up with also. Thank you.
Well, we do have a problem in the city of Jackson. You said something about the street, you said something about sewer, you said something about the water system. But I guess I feel that we spend too much money in the city of Jackson on automobiles and F-150 trucks and all that. If we would cut back on paying all this money for all these big trucks and these double cab trucks, and you see people riding through the streets all day long and look like they might need the GPS to find out where they're going. You know, maybe we can save some money on automobiles, on gas, and things of this nature. You have to think about where can you cut back on. You know, one thing, you have to think about the taxpayers' money, and we have to be very wise in using this money. And that's how we can save on some money. I'd rather have that money on the streets than to have it with somebody riding a big F-150 or whatever car. And one other thing, we have to make sure that we be proactive and doing things so our deterioration that we have across the city of Jackson, people houses that by falling down because of deterioration, because of the flood problem we have. And that's why I said you fix these things while the sun is shining, when you have the torrential rainfall, then you don't have to worry about it. Because the water be flowing freely at that time.
Robert Anderson. Real quickly, water and sewer is priority. It's common sense. Let's understand how we bring revenue into the city of Jackson. Property taxes and sales taxes are our major revenue sources. Obviously, with people leaving and businesses leaving, you're losing both. So we need to understand how to bring in revenue, not a theory, but a plan of specifics. We need to understand that Fair Street is not going on. We need to bring more events into the downtown Jackson areas. We need to utilize what we do have down there. We bring in more events, more traffic will come into downtown. That brings in additional revenue sources in the city of Jackson. Let's understand something. You're going to hear tonight that sales taxes have stabilized. If I'm sliding down the sliding board, I can slow down, but I'm still going down. So when you hear that figure about sales taxes have stabilized doesn't stop. We need to figure out a way, and I gave you some innovative ways to generate revenue. You're not going to fix anything broke.
For sake of time, to make sure we don't keep you too long, the questions from here on out will be given only 1 minute. The next two priority questions, you will only have 1 minute to answer, and then the debate forum will start, and that's questions from the audience. So remember, you only have 1 minute from here on out for rebuttals and all of the questions. Priority question number 2. What will be your legacy or signature mark, as it were, for moving the city forward as far as growth, revitalization, attracting people to the city, and improving education? For example, one of the hallmark accomplishments of President Barack Obama, for which he will be remembered, whether controversial or celebrated, is Obamacare, and other things like the death of Osama bin Laden, shouldn't even think of others. Given an environment of limited resources, what will you have accomplished at the end of 4 years that we will remember? Person with the mic can go.
Not enough time. Real quickly, my campaign is about generating revenue, providing jobs and job training programs. Businesses located in areas where they are going to be successful. That's where jobs come in. If people aren't working, there's not any money in the community. So by providing job training scholarship programs to assist with what the city is already known for, healthcare and education, we can assist UMC, the Baptist, and all these other areas in employment opportunities. We need to bring up employment figures in the city of Jackson. Once we do that, businesses will come back in.
Let me reiterate the question. What will you have accomplished? What will we remember you for at the end of your 4 years that we will remember?
Thank you very much. One thing I would like to be remembered, as a person who kept business in the city of Jackson without them leaving out of Jackson. I think that's to be the trademark, to make sure that we keep the business that we have in the city of Jackson here, besides trying to get more business to come to Jackson. And that's very important, that we keep the business that we have here. That's why I say that you have to bring people together. Let them know you care about them. Let them know that you want them here. Let them know that what can I do from the city of Jackson to make it better for you as a business in the city. You got to go beyond the call of duty to let business folks know that you're important to all of us. And that's why we want youth to stay here in the city of Jackson? Thank you.
Well, y'all would remember me because I plan on doing what we call creating a brand for the city of Jackson. I'm going to help present a more positive image for business development, for the jobs that people are going to have, and for people wanting to live in this city. I want people to know that I will do everything in my power to make sure there's plenty of jobs here. And I believe that we do need to have our money. If you earn your money in this city, then you need to be able to spend it here. And that's exactly what's going to happen once I get in there.
I would need to stand up on this because when I state this, I'm really misunderstood. What I would like to be remembered by from the accomplishment and from the legacy, first of all, the city of Jackson, the state of Mississippi, is an agricultural state. We shouldn't be the poorest in the nation. Well, the reason for legalizing hemp, because out of that hemp plant, okay, hemp is not marijuana. Hemp is not marijuana. To bring it will bring industry, it will bring thousands of jobs from the hemp plant. It is studied that they have this THC that actually bring those cells together and dissolve them. And it's not for breast cancer, the medicine of it. The product, you get everything from ice cream, you get bread, you get plastic, you get shoes, you get fabric. This industry, and we're bringing billions of dollars.
Thank you, Ms. Chapman. Thank you.
In terms of a legacy, I see over the next 4 years making Jackson a destination city. That's extremely important. We're down that road now with the convention center complex that I fought to get. I'm going to fight to get a convention center hotel. It's going to create jobs, it's going to bring people in our cities. It's going to give us that new source of revenue in terms of tourist dollars. So that's a legacy that I want to make sure that's established here in the city of Jackson. And that doesn't necessarily mean for people coming in. That means for people who live in the city. It means good neighborhoods. It means creating jobs. It means good health care. It means opportunities to support small businesses like we've been doing over the last 4 years. That's the legacy that I see. In terms of economic development, we also need to make sure that we deal with our young people, and young people starting at 3 and 4 years old, 4-year-old, and saving programs that we have right now in the city of Jackson.
Again, my name is John H. Jones, and my legacy as your next mayor of the city of Jackson would be the use of technology in innovative ways that will reduce the burden that we pay for everything that we use. We will also be able to use technology to work from home. One of the platforms in my campaign is a metropolitan area network for the city of Jackson. Now, a lot of you don't have any idea what I mean by metropolitan area network, but imagine able to do business in any country in the world, anywhere in the United States, from the comfort of your home, and you don't have to pay exorbitant fees to Cable Vision or AT&T for that access. The city of Jackson has the resources and the wherewithal to accomplish this, and we can make free internet access available for everyone in the city of Jackson, where they can do their best to maintain a business and make a living, a legal, decent living. Thank you.
My legacy is education. Every problem we have and every solution we have in this community is connected to our public school system. And a survey that was done a little over a year ago, the number one reason for people leaving this city for communities outside the city limits or for public schools. The most important thing that a mayor can do is, of course, appoint quality school board members who have a vested interest in our children and the success of our district. But along those lines, we also have to work to create a comprehensive community plan that gives us the opportunity to bring all of the stakeholders in the community together, the churches, the nonprofits, the women's groups, to make sure that we are providing those kids every opportunity, every resource to make our schools better. If you don't have kids understand that it's a pocketbook issue, our vitality is connected to the success of those public schools.
Our legacy with short-word movement in the office of mayor is going to be economic growth tied to maximum participation of our residents in the economic system. Jobs again, and economic contracts and subcontracting, and an intense marketing campaign. Not only local, not only statewide, not only national, but global in terms of getting businesses who want to be here so that businesses who are here will stay here. And finally, it is understood that this is not a unique campaign. It's the same one that Atlanta did in order to get its strength where it was, to get to where it was, to where it is. It was not too much further than where Jackson is, and then it moved to a very strong economic position. Economic growth with maximum participation of our residents.
A legacy for the Quinn administration certainly would be education. You talk about the urgency of now. Certainly the urgency of now for my family. I have a child in the Jackson public school system, and it's just critically important that we fix our public school system. In addition to that, in terms of the legacy, it relates also to our academic institutions. The city of Jackson has been designated a medical city. What I would work to do is to have a collaboration between Jackson State University that has more majors in the STEM areas, that's science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Currently, we need to get with the University of Mississippi Medical Center, the city of Jackson, to have that collaboration so we can start grooming our young people in terms of the biotechnical field to get the city of Jackson on track. That's an area that certainly has a lot of potential to it, and working as a board member of the Jackson Medical Ball Foundation, working out there, and surely I know we can get that done.
Our legacy would be one that led the city by putting God first, taking care of our senior citizens, taking care of our veterans, reestablishing housing, rehabilitation, cleaning up this city. My legacy will be a man of God that ran the city by putting God first.
Great. This third priority question is going to be asked a little different. This is for whichever candidate is led to answer. Not each candidate has to respond. Whoever feels led to answer. Does that make sense? Okay. Describe your plan to compete for and sustain the thriving arts, culture, and entertainment environment that currently exists in the city of Jackson. There has not been much talk about culture and education. Culture and arts, and entertainment that's in the city of Jackson and exists widely. What is your plan to compete for and sustain the thriving arts, culture, and entertainment environment? I'll follow up with another example. Capitol Street is one of the oldest streets and runs from downtown to the 220 bypass. The state's only recognized zoo is located on this street. What will the city do with the street to not only enhance downtown, but to enhance what should be one of the largest financial attractions in our city, the zoo?
Let's get first to the issue. First, the issue of the culture aspect of the city of Jackson, what can be done in terms of the plan. We have so much culture in the city. We have a lot of artists, musical artists that we certainly are not providing the resources to so they can show their talent. We have people all over this country with ties to Mississippi. I was recently at a production at the Alamo Theater with Bobby Rush, Dexter Allen, and another artist. It was an absolutely phenomenal program, and the room was virtually empty. I believe that we need to put some resources in the Alamo and in Farish Street. Get on the dime with that. Do what's necessary to go ahead and implement what is to get a new developer in place and get Farish Street done. Now, in terms of the zoo, it's the problem that we have there, the problem we have all over the city. It's just been lack of attention and neglect. We just have to deal with the economic development aspect of the city in terms of getting the infrastructure in place and putting people around the table that can help get it done. Thank you.
I believe that one of the things we have to do is recognize where our strengths are. We have cultural genius in the city, but we have to be sensitive to the cultural preferences of the majority of the people in the city. We have to be sensitive to the fact that a lot of our people are into blues, hip-hop, and things of that nature. The promotion of these activities, the trying to develop something like Motown, for instance, was developed in the city of Detroit. Something major that could eventually not only explode with our talent being seen all over the country and all over the world, but it could also add to the other quote-unquote fine arts getting a resurrection in this particular city, or revival in the city. Thank you.
During the course of the campaign, I've talked a lot about uplifting the assets we have. We have a tremendous amount of talent here in the city of Jackson, and we have a tremendous amount of venues here in the city of Jackson. What we have not done as of yet is lift those assets up in a way that we are investing in them, understanding that there's a residual spin-off, monies that can be made, jobs that can be provided. It's just a matter of priority. This whole deal with the budget and spending is a matter of priority and understanding that the resources are there. Dalimar is a prime example. The building has been outright neglected and has not been made available to the entire community. We have to make sure that we invest our monies in such a fashion that we can uplift that resource and make sure that we get the next Bloom show here in town. Thank you.
Arts and cultural activities. Here in the city of Jackson, as everyone can attest, we have an abundance of talent. We have people that have gone worldwide that originated right here in Mississippi. Now, what can we do about that here in the city of Jackson? We need to make Jackson an entertainment identity, a location, and we also need to invest the time and money to make this city more entertainment friendly. You know, we have the logo as the city with soul. But the city with soul that doesn't do anything is not saying a lot about the city of Jackson. We can't just maintain the status quo. We've got to go ahead and advertise and entertain and make the city everything that it can be.
As a former president of the Arts Council, I fully appreciate and realize the asset that we have in our culture and artistic community. That would be three things that I would do. First of all, I would continue the public arts initiative that we have right now going on in the city of Jackson. We created some 18 traffic signal boxes downtown. We're painting 13 on Highway 80 in West Jackson right now, giving an opportunity for young artists, one of them right in the back there, to display their skills. We'd also continue to support the Arts Council through providing them with an annual appropriation that we started many, many years ago. And finally, we would support housing for the creative class, like the Capitol Street lofts that are coming up. And I just signed off on a public hearing that was held for the Capitol Street lofts project. So those are the things that I would do. Those are my plans, not rhetoric, but those are my plans.
Art and culture. I'm a sickle cell trader, and that leads me to my ancestors from Africa. My mother was Native American. Arts and culture. First of all, I'm for charter school. What a charter school can do is diverse the culture in terms of wood carvers can teach the children how to wood carve. The culinary arts can teach children how to cook. The pottery can teach children how to make pottery. The fabric or seamstress can teach children how to sew. It's diverse. There's so many things in terms of arts and culture. Now put it downtown in the carousel. There's a place where the children can go and be entertained. There's a place where the youth can go and be entertained. And for the elders and for the family and in the community, they're all entertained because they're all doing something they're doing and love in arts and culture. Thank you.
My time here in Jackson, I've met a lot of talent a lot of talent. And I talk to them pretty much daily while I'm out talking to people about this campaign. And they say there's just not enough places and availability for them to do anything. Well, my big thing is going to be for the juveniles. There's a lot of talent in juveniles. And things that we need to do for them is like, one of the things would be like the Mississippi Skate. I have a rally that's going to be going on for them, and there's going to be all kinds, like 6,500 of those. We have 6,500 of just those alone in the city. And we also need two things. I believe that this city, being the capital city, we need to have theaters in this city. And I believe that they can become reality.
Well, I'm just going to say one thing. Fair Street will be developed. The developer started working on it, and the first 6 months of my administration, he's going to pack up and go home. I'm tired of looking at Fair Street down there, and nothing is done. From there, we can have a lot of artists, a lot of things going on if we develop Fair Street. There's no sense of Fair Street still sitting there. Look like it's lonely, out there with no help whatsoever.
Robert Evans, real quickly, here's what we're going to do. We understand that more traffic comes through the Metro Jackson area than any other city in Mississippi. They come here for healthcare, they come here for education. We understand that there are artists here. We're going to market these artists. We're going to close sections of downtown down, and we're going to have events. We're going to have events in Jackson, whereas people who come here, they have to come here for healthcare and other reasons. We're going to market and have events where people who come here, they have a reason to stay here and spend money. That's what we're going to do.
Thank you. We are going to change directions a little bit. We are going to ask you questions that have been given to us from the floor. So the question is, the voters will be imploring you to lead the city of Jackson. Many of you are candidates for public office for the first time, or you have run unsuccessfully in other races. Why is it that we are only seeing you now, or have just hearing of you now that it's election time? Where have you been? What have you been doing over the past 4 years to prepare you to lead the city of Jackson? And we want to direct this question to Mr. Lee and then to Ms. Quinn. You have 1 minute each.
I'm glad you asked. People ask me all the time, what am I doing in my community? I'm providing jobs in my community. I run a successful business in Southwest Jackson, in a black neighborhood, and I employ black people. Not only that, but I'm committed to my church. I'm committed to organizations like Operation Shoestring. I'm committed to organizations like the YMCA. I've done plenty. Now, what I haven't done is wave a flag and say, this is what I'm doing because I'm running for office. We need more true leaders and not people who are doing things just because they're running for office. Leadership has no responsibility for age. I'm 35 years old and I'm committed to this community. Right over there is my 2-year-old daughter. And you know what? Change starts with me. Just as it started with other folks that folks had never heard of in the 60s, like Dr. King or Gandhi. It starts right here. I will pledge this of you. No matter what you hear, no matter what you see, know that this is about the issues. It's time to have a leader that can get the job done. Come from behind the desk and not just for the photo op.
I too am glad this question was asked, but I will tell you this. I'm not a person that is an unknown quantity. You're sitting in a place, we're in a place, a venue now, where I served on the board of the Jackson Medical Hall Foundation. That was public service. And I was happy to provide that service. I serve as a commissioner of the Mississippi Commission on the Status of Women that help to increase the quality of life for women. I am a proud resident of the city of Jackson, have been all of my life. I've been working as a public servant all of my professional life. I work for Jackson State. As I told you, I negotiated the deal on behalf of JSU that helped to acquire the Mississippi Veterans Memorial Stadium. I will tell you, that was not an easy task, but I did that for the love of Jackson State University and of this city. I am a person that has been involved in the community. I've represented numerous businesses throughout this city. I'm prepared for this job. I have the heart and the passion for this job. I have a child in public school here, and I am a member of the Women for Progress. So though I may be unknown to you, I'm certainly not unknown to this community.
All right, we have that some applause. Mayor Johnson, I'm going to get to you. I'm going to take advantage of the fact that we have two city councilors and the mayor. And so I'm going to direct this question to you three. And Mayor Johnson, I see you have your hand up, so let you. Okay. All right. We will get to the rebuttal, and what I want to do now is ask the question of you three, the city council, two city council, and you, Mayor. Question that we got from the audience. Don't you think we need to see about lowering taxes in the city of Jackson to attract growth in the city, as opposed to doing anything that would increase any type of tax? Mayor Johnson, go ahead, and if you would address that, you have 1 minute. And go ahead at this time. I advise that you are allowed 1 minute for rebuttal for that now, Mr. Johnson. Then 1 minute for my question, which is on the issue of lowering taxes for the city of Jackson, as opposed to doing anything in terms of raising revenue through any type of tax.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to rebut what Ms. Quinn and Mr. Lee has said, because the question was, how have you prepared yourself? And that's a very important question. As I indicated earlier, I prepared myself. I've studied government, I've run a nonprofit. I made sure that I was prepared to take office in 97 and 09. I've served on many civic boards, the Arts Alliance, Smith Robinson Museum. I served on the bank board. I've served on the Central Mississippi Red Cross, on the Metropolitan YMCA board. I paid dues. I've mentored at Rowan Middle School since 1993. So I paid my dues. I prepared myself to lead this city. So don't let the rhetoric take over. Look at the record. In terms of the other question, in terms of lowering taxes, I would love to lower taxes, but what we have to do, make sure that we have enough revenue coming in to provide the services we need to provide. Over the last 4 years, we've balanced the budget. We have not furloughed anybody, like some of our governments around us. We have not laid anybody off. We've been good stewards of the taxpayers' dollars. That's so extremely important to do that. So I would love more taxes, and if the opportunity to do it, I would do it. But right now, we need all the resources we can get. And let me just say, in terms of attracting businesses to the city of Jackson, since 2009, some $800 million have been invested in the city of Jackson by businesses, through building businesses or renovating them. So don't buy into the fact that Jackson is going down a slippery slope. We are the capital city. We're the trunk of the tree. If the trunk of the tree dies, the branches will die too.
Councilman Blunson. Go ahead. Since you have the microphone, you go ahead, Councilman.
Okay, so I get a rebuttal and then I get to answer the question. Okay, I don't know if you call this a rebuttal or not, but I'm a lawyer. I run a business, been doing it all my life, or at least for the last 40 years or so, and I still help free the Scott system. I still help in Katrina. I still have organized programs and projects throughout the city where hundreds of young men are going to college because we have had an opportunity to work on it. This is not special to me. It doesn't make me special. Just make me understand leadership and the nature of leadership, how to lead, how to bring people together to get things accomplished. So I want to make that clear. Secondly, I wanted to point out, repeat the question.
The question is, don't you think that we should be about the business of lowering taxes in the city of Jackson as opposed to doing any raising revenue through any type of tax increase?
To answer that question is simple. Yes. I've talked to a lot of people about that. We have to get to the point where we can lower taxes. We have to get to the point where we can be competitive with other surrounding communities, where we can say, if you come here, you get the same rate. I think some of that can be initiated immediately. Some of it will have to be initiated in phases because we have to build up our revenue to make it possible in order to give people those kinds of tax breaks and then to continue on. So the answer to that question is yes.
Well, I am against lowering the taxes. When we can get to the point of having department stores here where the ladies can go and get a pair of Hanes stockings instead of going to dog park or going to Dogwood, whatever they call that place out there in Rankin County. That's why we need every penny we can get. Because our shoppers go out and shop. They don't shop in Jackson. They shop in Jackson who have some money. That's why we have to do a better job of keeping business here in the city of Jackson. You know, it's amazing. When the lady told me, you can't even find some Hanes, I don't know what the lady wear, but she said Hanes stocking. So you got to go to the dog park and get a pair of Hanes stockings and all this kind of stuff. We have to do something to keep business in the city of Jackson. And I don't know. It's not a bird, but I heard one of the candidates speak to the point of what they have done. And I had one question about am I allowed to ask that?
No, you're not allowed to ask a question.
Okay, so if I can tell everyone what I've done and not all of it, I can ask what else have you done.
No questions from the candidates.
Okay, that's all I want.
Mr. Lee wanted to do a rebuttal.
I want to make this clear again. This forum is not a forum that talks about what the current mayor has done. This is about a referendum on what the current mayor hasn't done. Have you driven down the street lately? Have you gone down to try to pay your water bill lately? We are rife with problems, and whether you like it or not, they are here and they have to be dealt with. It is time out for status quo. It's time out for political games. Yes, I'm not embarrassed of you, Mayor. You are a very dignified man, but you have let the people of Jackson down. Not once, not twice, but now 3 times.
Mr. Mayor, respond, and then we're going to move to a new question. Mr. Mayor, respond to Mr. Lee, and we'll move to a new question. Ms. Lee? Ms. Quinn? Yes. We're asking for the mayor to respond, and then we'll move to a new question. Let's be fair. We'll be fair. Go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
You know, I think rhetoric is fine, and it's good, and that's all you're hearing from Mr. Lee. If Mr. Lee would truly be honest with you, I think integrity is very important. Mr. Lee is in a Democratic primary. Ask Mr. Lee for his voting record as a Democrat. Also ask him for his voting record as a Republican. And see which one you would prefer him to be as your Democratic nominee for